Hey guys, what's up? It's Finch here. Today we're going to be discussing something a bit different. We're going to be discussing King's Rock in competitive Pokemon. For those of you who don't know, that's an item that increases the chances of flinching, meaning that for each hit a move makes, it can potentially scale up to where a 5-hit move from a Cloyster with Skilling has a 41% chance to flinch. So if you're using Shell Smash, that gives you already +2 attack. Now all of a sudden, not only are you faster than things and stronger than things with a +2 speed as well, but you have a 41% chance of flinching the opponent, assuming you move first and you hit all 5 times. That combined makes Cloyster a pretty mediocre, middling Pokemon, arguably, into a very hard to check presence in any metagame. There have been times when it's seen usage in SSOU, and recently it's been seeing usage in Black-White OU, which is my favorite generation. Moreover, as an extension of this, multiple people have came to me and discussed in chats I've been in, saying that they think that King's Rock should be banned, not only because of the effect it has on Cloyster, but also because of the principle of the item. King's Rock is an item that is solely used to increase the chance of getting RNG, or random number generation, for those of you that aren't aware what that stands for. Basically meaning that while you can use an item that can increase damage output, like Life Orb, or Never Melt Ice, or in Black-White, Ice Gem, for example, or you can use something that increases longevity, like Leftovers, or in SS, Heavy Duty Boots, or even Focus Sash, you're electing to forego those chances and instead use an item that essentially banks on Cloyster's getting lucky against potential would-be checks and counters. So instead of playing a competitive game to potentially outposition your opponent, put him in a position where Cloyster can sweep with the help of that added longevity or that added strength, you're putting yourself in a position where you're saying, okay, I don't have to rely as much on positioning, or I can position myself to where I can win with 1 or 2 flinches, but those flinches are going to be the determining factor. Getting that 41% chance here or there isn't the determining factor unless this opponent's team is already quite weakened. And of course, there's also chances of getting a critical hit or whatnot with one of the Icicle Crash moves. That's Icicle Spear moves, sorry about that. That's completely fair too, but that's part of the game. Now you could argue, okay, but what makes King's Rock not part of the game? And to that I say, that is entirely fair. We are definitely reaching a point that slippery slopes can be argued, wrong precedent can be argued, etc. This is a very awkward spot where we have to toe a fine line in order not to send the right message from a tiering perspective. My personal opinion is, though, that we can differentiate King's Rock. Cloyster strategies not only are subject to widespread complaints largely due to King's Rock, but in addition to this, we noticed that previously we have banned things that, in turn for competitive play and competitive Pokemon, if you will, we generate more RNG-based games. For example, we banned things like Sandveil in conjunction with Sandstorm, or just Sandveil outright in prior metagames, which is totally fair in my eyes. Well, the way I see it is that using King's Rock as an item, and arguably Bright Powder and Lax Incense as well, as they're also evasion, they kind of fit under evasion clause, are items that should probably fit under this umbrella as well. King's Rock is a bit different because instead of, say, miss chances, it's flinch chance. And again, flinches are part of the game. I go for Iron Hooves Jirachi, I get a flinch, but this is a flinch chance you are actively engaging in by using this item rather than using Leftovers, Heavy Duty Boots, Icicles, Never Melt Ice, or depending on what your team is, Focus Sash, or Ice Gem and Black-White, etc. Now, you could argue, okay, but this is a competitive trade-off. You are taking that 41% chance of breaking through potential things instead of taking the chance of using the Leftovers to increase your longevity, or Focus Sash to stay alive, or whatever it may be, etc. Going through all those items. And that, I say, yeah, that is fair, but I don't think we should allow that route, that chance to be taken, because that chance leaves the game being decided by, the virtual 40-60. Moreover, I personally believe that King's Rock and likely Bright Powder and Lax Incense should be banned from competitive play. I don't think they should be allowed in any generation, but in particular, I think SS and Black-White, the 2 main generations where Cloyster is seen as particularly effective, it should be banned. What would this do to our competitive landscape, you might ask? Well, it wouldn't change much at all. It would just mean that cheesing through teams with King's Rock Cloyster would no longer be allowed, and I personally feel pretty strongly about that. It can definitely derail metagames and or just individual games in those metagames, and that's pretty important. To save some context, Cloyster has been discussed in SSU a lot earlier this generation, gaining interest in some tiering surveys, and also metagame discussion threads. It also is a hot topic in Black-White OU right now. While the impact of King's Rock may be more noteworthy in Black-White, deeming it's more disruptive in that metagame that has less optional counterplay, if you will. I don't see any reason for King's Rock to remain in one if it's in the other, or vice versa, you know. Again, the counter argument would be that you're sacrificing the chances of, you know, doing the more damage or having the greater survivability with those items, and it's like a competitive decision to make that trade-off, but you could argue that one side of the trade-off is something that we really don't want to incentivize, let alone enable as a community, and we have done so for other things like banning Sandvale. I mean, for example, Garchomp, it could use, you know, rough skin and black-white, so that, you know, you're losing the rough skin damage, you're losing that ability to really deter potential physical attackers in return for getting Sandvale. But no, we banned Sandvale because it enables this, and in my eyes, you can apply that same loose line of logic to this as well. The main other argument is that, the main other counter argument is that, you know, if Cloyster is an abuser of this, and yeah, it really is just Cloyster, nothing else is using King's Rock and particularly effective in doing so, then you should just ban Cloyster, as banning Pokemon is what we tend to do. We're suspecting Zama's into Crown right now because it was banned to Ubers. Previously, we banned things like Zygarde, we banned things like Genesect, Magearna, Cinderace. We banned those Pokemon, not specific elements of them, which is fair, except for the fact that you have to look at the nature of the situation. The main counter-argument is that if Cloyster is the main abuser strategy, then banning the move would be more in line with this philosophy. However, I don't believe that applies here, especially in Black-White, because the nature of King's Rock. Let's look at it again. We're actively making this choice to use this item on the Pokemon, in that the item makes it random number generator oriented, RNG oriented. The item is more the focus here due to the nature of it. If it was like a specific move on the Pokemon that it gained access to, that other Pokemon had access to, and it broke the Pokemon, something that multiple Pokemon could really be the problem with, you know, it's a different story potentially. Or maybe it's the same if a lot of Pokemon, you know, you find one specific element of it, and that makes it broken, then who knows? It's really case by case in some scenarios. And you look at it here, in my opinion, banning Cloyster wouldn't be the worst thing to do. But I don't think Cloyster is conventionally broken so much as it is uncompetitive. And that's where you get to a sticky situation, in that uncompetitiveness in metagames is something that's a bit harder to define, a bit harder to isolate, and a bit harder to necessarily act on, but I think oftentimes situations where things aren't competitive, again, going back to the Sandvale or Baton Pass strategies, if you will, or there are things that can break them and beat them, but they're less consistent in doing so, it makes the game, if you will, more variance-oriented. All of a sudden, you know, you want to really isolate the specific thing, minimize collateral, especially when applying to old generations. You don't want to face old tiers, for example, and proceed accordingly. So, my personal philosophy would be to ban King's Rock here. I understand people saying to ban Cloyster, I just don't agree. And I also think that banning King's Rock alongside things like Bright Powder and Lax Incense, it kind of ties nicely together. So, that's a bit of something to expand upon. I also want to note McMegan and ABR, who, in my opinion, are two of the 4 best players of all time, without a doubt. Both just talked about this earlier in a prior thread. ABR said hi, bans King's Rock, and Black-White is permanently solved. King's Rock, Bright Powder, and Quick Claw should be banned from all tiers. McMegan said at King's Rock, think it's stupid and would always vote ban personally. Fundamentally, I hate it. Realistically, I don't know if it picked up enough to get removed yet, but if for some reason nobody bats an eye, by all means, let it go. So yeah, I mean, not like super strong support from McMegan, but more he would personally support it, and he believes that it doesn't have a place. At ABR, same boat. So yeah, I mean, overall, I don't like have a ton of a huge agenda that I want to go for this video. Like, I'm not gonna lay it out, print you guys a bunch of replays. Nah, this is just gonna be a short explanation. I'm thinking 10-12 minutes, you know, and we're already well over halfway there. But I just hope you guys understand where I'm coming from, in that I don't make many philosophical videos. I don't make many videos that are tiering beyond like just going over results, but this is an opinion video. This is me going out there and saying, hey, I feel this way, here is why, therefore I believe we should ban King's Rock. I mean, you see this post, it's got over 100 likes, which is cool and all, but I don't really give a crap about forum likes. What I give a crap about is reform, change, making the game we play better, and my personal opinion is that this would do so. Banning King's Rock would especially help Black-White right now. I feel it's in a less than ideal position with the abundance of Cloyster teams that I've been seeing recently, and I don't love that. I love my games being decided on the 40-60 after I preserve my counters and checks. I preserve my Jirachi that lives a +2 Ice Skill Sphere. Fuck that, get out of here. So yeah, that's about how I feel. What do you guys feel? Do you think King's Rock has a place in competitive Pokemon? Why or why not? In addition to that, do you think this should be extended to other generations like SF? That be grouped as well due to the oriented luck things involving it? And then also, how about Serene Grace? You know, what point do you draw the line? How do you draw the line? How do you define that? There is 114 I posted delay, yeah. And that was that. So, you know, sometimes you gotta be the people are discussing, we're doing our due diligence, and that's what we're supposed to do in this community. So yeah, what do you guys think? Let me know. Are you pro-ban or anti-ban? And thank you so much for watching.